Hello, everybody. So thank you so much for attending, and we appreciate your attention for the next half hour. I'm Patrick Workman, as they mentioned. I work for Unlock Labs, the creators of Unlock Protocol. Unlock Protocol creates memberships as NFTs in order to put membership programs on chain, which is much different than what we experienced in the first NFT cycle. But before we begin, I want to let each one of our panelists introduce themselves, starting with Jules.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Hey everyone, GM, how's everyone doing? Good? I'm hoping, yeah? This venue is incredible. So thank you guys so much for inviting us. I'm Jules. I'm one of the co-founders of Ensō Collective. We're building a digital closet. If any of you guys have seen the chipped social activation on Twitter, yeah? If anyone wants to get chipped after this, let me know. But basically, we're building social commerce and we're bringing it on-chain.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany and I'm the head of growth for NFTs, arts and culture here at Avalanche. And what I do is help grow the Avalanche ecosystem, bring on creators, infrastructure partners to kind of educate people and bring more NFTs on chain. And I help with strategy and also running campaigns like Avalanche, where we onboarded over 60 artists, up and upcoming artists with the help of mentors and our ecosystem partners.
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Elif. I am a traditional and digital artist based in Istanbul. And now I am making my master degree, and my thesis about new media art, and that's all. Thanks.
Well, I'm really stoked for this conversation today. And as the topic is what we learned from the first NFT bull cycle, I just want to unpack to start out kind of what did we learn. Obviously, NFTs for a lot of us in their latest iteration were the first consumer use cases of crypto in a lot of ways. I started becoming a degen in 2015, slanging coins just for the sake of kind of speculation, wanting tokens to go up. When I entered kind of NFTs in this latest cycle, for me, it was the first time that I was able to participate in various communities in a way that felt somewhat natural. Very quickly, that then became kind of a form of speculation for me, with the product of many of those early NFT projects being purely speculation. I'd love to hear from Jules. What did you learn in the first NFT bull cycle?
I think I learned a lot. We started building Ensō kind of last October, so after that. And I think I remember everyone would be constantly on Twitter and being like, oh my God, did you invest in this coin? Did you do this? And all my friends who were not in crypto were literally telling me all the time, like, oh, did you get rich? And literally that's all we heard. And I think that over time, it kind of got a little just boring in that way, where there was no creativity, there was no new technology. And I think now, during the bear market, it has really focused us to really understand what we're actually building, why we're doing it, and what consumers would actually use it, right? Obviously, there are so many opportunities in where we need to still improve the ecosystem, but I've learned that hype doesn't last forever. And if there is a lot of hype, you need to have a very strategic growth plan after that and create more sustainability in the ecosystem.
I think from the last bull cycle, we really realized that NFT was the entry point for a lot of people coming into NFTs. And I think for better or for worse, NFTs now have the narrative of being JPEGs, unfortunately, for the masses. So I think the next cycle is really about re-educating that narrative. And now that the technology is a lot more mature, how can we highlight so much more that the NFTs can offer and highlight these utilities, and doing it in a way through brand partnerships, through education, and just onboarding a lot more people that way for the next cycle.
Great. And when we think about kind of from a Web3 perspective and why we're actually building this, initially the technology led what we were doing. It's you should do this because it's an NFT. You should do this because it's on a blockchain. You should do this because it's based upon cryptocurrencies. Where the reality is the masses, from a broad audience adoption perspective, very few people like really cared about that. I mean, with the exception being those of us in this room. And then many of us in this room, when we're building things, the analogy I like to use is the space builds rocket ships. And there's this rocket ship that could do anything, including take us to Pluto. But in order to get to that rocket ship, we're all standing on the edge of a swamp. And we're trying to trudge through this swamp and telling people to go ahead and get inside of the swamp, and this swamp's going to be great in order to get to this magical land. But there's so much building that needs to happen before we get to where we are today, to this kind of place on the other side. Jules, from an Ensō's collective perspective, you chose to build on-chain. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, I think a lot on this like creator economy and how we're going to promote and provide more transparency in the ecosystem. If any of you have been in the fashion ecosystem at all and understand, maybe you know your top 5 brands, and then what do they know about you? How can you build this commerce graph for yourself and take it wherever you can? And right now that doesn't exist, right? And I'm constantly thinking, okay, I'm constantly purchasing all of these things, this dress, for example, and what am I getting from that? A lot of times it's maybe an email in the mail saying, oh, you have 10% off. But in the end, it's like, okay, what does it actually mean? Am I getting rewarded for that? When I'm telling all my friends and to purchase this, is it actually generating any wealth for myself? And a lot of times it goes through like all these types of affiliate links. I don't know if any of you guys use Amazon. Well, probably everyone uses Amazon. But if anyone does like the Amazon Influencer Ambassador Program, basically you can link everything on Pinterest, for example, and then get percentage money back, but you don't really see what's happening on the other side. And that for me is insane. So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah, and Tiffany, when you are talking to creators that are thinking about building a community on chain, what are you telling them? Like, what is the story? What is their interest? And why should they think about building these communities on chain versus off chain?
I think on-chain now, it's all about super fans, fan bases, whether it's loyalty points, whether it's being able to connect with their fans, or whether it's using, like having your own data. I think a lot of it is finding your, similarly to Web 2, you have to find your niche audience. And the thing about Web 3 is it's just very chaotic because the audiences and communities are all over the place. Some people want to make money, so you have to kind of worry about people who care about that. But other people are really big super fans of your art, let's say, and then you have to kind of develop that over time as any other artist in traditional mediums too. So I think community is just a lot more complicated in Web3, but I think similarly in brand building, when in advertising or just in general, I think it's really learning about your niche, being able to have the right, like be able to tell that story clearly, and also be able to find really good community managers, because I think their work is so thankless sometimes because there's so much FUD that you have to deal with on top of building your brand and building that story.
Awesome. And Elif, you're obviously the creator on stage here as a digital artist. When you thought about using blockchains to monetize what you were doing and earn a living, what was that path like? And what have you learned being a creator working with NFTs?
First of all, I am really new in NFT world. I am a traditional artist since high school, and I was wondering what can I do in next my career. I am really wondering what is can absolutely it's going to be change to my career. Then I meet the Galeri Muaf, and they told me that there is a world you can be understanding, and you can be more going to be is. I'm sorry, guys. I am really exciting. That's because I am not talking too much. Anyway, and then with Galeri Muaf, I meet the Avalanche world, and the community was so warm. And then there is a like-minded people, and then they understand me really well. So yeah, it's going to be done. It's okay.
I have a comment on that. And whenever I talk to my artist friends and talk about NFTs, I think it was this perception before where everyone was like, oh, you're going to be an artist, you're not going to make any money from that, so go get another career. And, or especially in the US, for example. Yeah. And now there's this insane opportunity, a new distribution channel that you can utilize. And that, to me, whenever I tell that to artists, that's literally the first thing they say. I don't say anything about NFTs. I'm just like, okay, there's a new channel you can sell on. Would you be interested?
Yeah, that's going to be like that for me. And actually, in there is a lot of people, and I don't know their names or where they from, but they just interesting my art, and this is so special for me because it's not a matter what you are, where you are living or what you are doing. It's not a necessary. So, yeah.
And then I think to add upon that, Web3 just opened up a lot of gateways to help creators. Like, for example, with DeFi, you're able to have these microtransactions, being able to get all these payments from people that you might not have access to originally. And then, for example, also DAOs. Like, we have Mona Lisa initiative at Avalanche, where people and artists and communities who are passionate about a certain type of art or to a certain type of genre, they can kind of have that shared interest to pull together and have governance and support artists in a very unique way that wasn't available to everyone else in Web 2.
And then I have one more. And then also adding the opportunity to actually message your community members that are purchasing your art and constantly engaging with you. I think that is one of the best things that we have in Web3, whether you're building an application, you're building out a community, or you're trying to even just make friends. I think it's so incredible, that constant feedback and the energy from these people. Like here, we're in an amazing conference. We're meeting new people all the time. It's almost like if, in university, they like put you out and they're saying, oh, like meet all those people at once. Like we're not always in that position to make a ton of new friends. A lot of times we're always in this same routine constantly over and over again. And that's where inspiration doesn't lie. It lies around everyone here that's wanting to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we think about the creator economy and the way it exists today and the reliance upon creators on big tech platforms for reach and distribution, it's a classic story. The creators come, they create the content, the tech platforms gets the eyeballs on the content. They then package the eyeballs to advertisers who will pay the most in order to reach those eyeballs. And then as soon as that organic story has played out, then the platforms start to charge the creators in order to get that same distribution and reach. From a cold start problem perspective, obviously a creator can go to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and kind of plug in to an existing distribution channel where they know they're going to be able to scale. Tiffany, from a cold start perspective, how do you advise the creators that you're working with in terms of like where do you start, where do you begin if you want to start building something on chain?
I think there's just so many platforms nowadays. I think it is just whatever the artists feel most comfortable with. I think that's how kind of these ecosystems are built now. It's where artists feel like they are celebrated and they're welcome. And I think, at Avalanche, our job is to create as many infrastructure tools for them to use. We have 01. We have that's more about shared creating different creating artwork to redeem artwork. We have, the super rares, like super cheap on our platform. So there's just so many different types that suits different artists. And then we're just trying to make them as many available and obviously being as welcoming as possible so they feel at home wherever they choose. Because they have the power to choose. And on top of that, because of Web3, because of interoperability, they're able to kind of do cross-platform in the long term.
Just to add to that, I always tell like creators that are just coming into the space, it's really like who is your brand and how are you building your brand up, and then create a strategy for all these different platforms. Yes, you can post on TikTok, Instagram, you can post on Lens across all the different applications or Forecaster, or you might pick one or the other. And I think it's very important to create a very in-depth strategy of like how are you going to attract, who are the consumers that you need to be able to build out your community? And then how can they reach back to you? And I think the craziest thing now with all this interoperability, like if you're building on Lens, for example, there's messaging that's already included with XMTP, and then you can also have those same messages on Coinbase Wallet. And that I think is insane. Like you can't move your Instagram messages to your Twitter messages. You kind of have two different platforms and two different strategies.
No, that's so true. And if we think about interoperability and kind of a reason why, if you think enterprise clients should jump into the space, the first brand activations that happened during the first NFT bull cycle were for the most part shiny objects. They were JPEGs associated with brand imagery that people would buy and collect. And a lot of those projects, I hope nobody from Pepsi is in the room, but like Pepsi mic drop, you put a Pepsi logo on a microphone, or Cheetos did like a Chester cheetah that you could use as your profile pic. There's a small number of human beings on planet Earth that would like to use something like that. If we think about like brand partnerships and some of the problems that brands are having today, not putting NFTs at the forefront, but how do you create interoperable experiences, moving beyond a brand as they are? So I think Starbucks is a perfect example. Starbucks as a brand is pretty boring. Like, from a loyalty perspective, you show up, you buy coffee, you get points. You buy more coffee, you get points. You do that 10 times, you get a free coffee, rinse and repeat. It's a retention tool that gets people to decide if there are two options to perhaps go to a Starbucks, but Starbucks can never be bigger than that Starbucks. So what blockchains enable them to do is how do you create these interoperable experiences where Starbucks can partner with a Delta and an Equinox and a New York Times and a Shopify and a Spotify. And now that Starbucks membership becomes more of a multiplayer experience, where as a Starbucks member, I'm getting all of these perks and benefits amongst this ecosystem that's been created, that's much larger than my brand, that doesn't result in Starbucks having to work with the IT team from another organization, aligning on a common data structure, putting it into a clean room, determining when data is going to be synced, and then the project eventually is a PR release that nobody does something with on the other side. Jules, I'm curious, when you're talking to brands or businesses that are looking to just increase revenue, improve lifetime value, lower customer acquisition costs, what is the narrative that you're telling them? Or like, what is the reason why they should think about building on blockchains?
Yeah, so I always ask, for example, like a ton of different independent stores and independent brands. I live in Barcelona, so I just go around and talk to every single person I can. And I ask them, I'm like, how are people finding you, right? A lot of times they're like, oh, Google, word of mouth sometimes, but how can you actually track all of that? Every store literally tells me the same answer. They're like, oh, I don't track it. I don't know. They find us on Instagram. I have their message somewhere. They tagged me somewhere, but it's not all interconnected. There's an insane opportunity that you can do with NFTs to be able to track these users and provide them a token. So it's not just a JPEG anymore, but it becomes like almost a data source. And you can track where this user goes, where this user shops, and also start aggregating loyalty points to that. And it makes it so much more different than just another Starbucks loyalty program, but a program where you're getting a supercharge, like almost like the Black American Express card for all the different brands or stores that you interact with. And that's actually building some type of social commerce graph that you own yourself. So I think that is an insane opportunity. And obviously to these brands, they know nothing about blockchain and they honestly don't care. But what they do care about is making more ROI. They really, really care about understanding how am I going to get 10, 15 new customers every single month, and how am I going to track that without having to use 10 different platforms. And a lot of it times now is like constantly, it's like, oh, this new platform you can use for this, but it's only on this side and the data lies there. Because a lot of times as well, it's like you don't really know where all your data is. It's kind of scattered across 10 different sites. Probably a lot more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's this kind of Frankenstein that we all are with our digital identities. We are on each one of these islands. We're on the island of Google, then the island of Meta, and then the island of Amazon, and the island of Apple. And it's as if we're in a boat rowing to each one of these islands and then knocking on the door, going inside. That data is held by that organization, and then we leave, we shut the door behind us, and then we go somewhere else. From a brand perspective, kind of managing all of that to determine a holistic view of who you really are as a human being is really challenging. Tiffany, when you're talking to any kind of creator, like from a measurement perspective, like what does this look like? Like what is success by doing something on chain?
I think with creators and also with brands, sometimes like building off of Jules, for bigger brands, it's about extending their reach. It's about finding new audiences. So let's say a big brand, they're going to have to collect all the data elsewhere, but they're always trying to innovate and try new things. So I think that's where brands and then creators who are in Web3 can shine, because they need creators with the Web3 knowledge to kind of bring on and grow their audience. That's why you see partnerships like Adidas and trying to work with Web3 people, or with the World of Women with Barcelona, or TYB on Avalanche working with Scarlett Johansson, because they're curious about what they can do and how they can test new ways of conversion. So they realize that on TYB, for example, because they are targeting their super fans and asking direct questions, their conversion rates are a lot higher than if they use traditional ads. So a lot of brands, they're still going to try their traditional things, but they're always looking for new ways. And if they see that the blockchain technology is working, they're more likely to try it. And then the best people to help facilitate that are artists who've been on the platform, understand the community, and have that loyal following that will be brought to the brands when they collaborate.
Absolutely. Elif, you're just starting. So you're just starting in this space. You've met some people. You've heard some stories. Where do you begin? Like, what does that initial journey look like for you?
For me, it's really crazy, actually, because when I started painting, I was in high school for art, and then everything is all around my mind is always thinking about I have to do this, and then in here actually there's a lot of people is asking me, what are you doing with your art, can I see it? And it's really great to me, because they just wondering what I am doing, and this is really great for me. And also Web3 is giving me trust, and because the certificate, and they are digital certificate, and this is a really big deal for us, because we are wondering where is my art going, and who is this curator, and also who is this people are taking my art, and where is it? It's really big deal for me, because we are so complicated art, so it's really great.
I think it's really cool because you're tracking the attribution of where it goes. And before, you would have never known if, you had a painting, someone purchased it, put it in their house in Barcelona, and then recommended it to 10 different friends. You can't technically track all of that unless you put some kind of affiliate link to that. And I think now with NFTs, there's also this insane opportunity. You can create this affiliate link and put it on chain. And that creates an insane distribution model, not only for you, but also to build off that and to understand more about your customers.
Yeah, this is really great for us. I mean, I am telling my older friends, you should try there because there is a lot of people are understanding you, and your art is really we're really understanding the people. So yeah.
And I also think a great way of distribution is a very kind of in real life analog way of sitting in front of an audience of 250 people where they could all follow you. If you haven't followed Elif yet on Instagram or Twitter or any of the things, if you have a phone, you could pull that out and follow her on any of those right now. I think we're almost out of time. I really appreciate everyone being so attentive over the course of the past half hour. Before we get off stage, I do want to ask each of the panelists, what is your favorite NFT project from the first bull cycle and why?
So I love the combination of both digital and physical. So I'm really into what Pudgy Penguins has done. And again, we said it in the beginning of the panel that the most important thing is educating. So I constantly think is how are we going to educate the next generation to understand what all of this technology means in a cute little fluffy penguin.
That sounds adorable.
Mine would be World of Women. I liked how they promote diversity and inclusion, and that allowed a lot of women and different people to be onboarded to the platform. But I think I really also liked how they've grown over the years by being not only promoting artists, but also social impact, but now working with brands. So I think that's a very healthy progression of what they've been doing from day one until now.
I think I'm going to say Avalanche because it's really good for growing your career. And yeah, that's all.
Awesome. And I'm going to cheat a little bit in terms of there isn't a single project, but we are seeing many creators on Unlock Protocol actually build businesses that are creating predictable recurring revenue. Think crypto native SaaS applications, publishers, tickets, people that are creating certifications, anything where there's a start and end date. Our gimmick at Unlock Protocol is really creating ways in which you can build businesses on blockchains, and we see many that are doing that. Pixels is a Web3 game that's been very successful lately. Ouroboros Capital is an organization that raised $350,000 selling on-chain memberships within 48 hours. And we're seeing many more of these, both organically through the open source protocol, as well as just people that we're working with. So again, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon in this incredible venue, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.